Welcome back to Offroad Outlaws, y'all, and in this video, I'm going to be going over 10 things that I think the next update either needs or would be nice to see in the future, and as always, make sure to let me know any of your suggestions for new features as well in the comments down below. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into the list. Now, starting with item number 1, this is something that has been talked about previously, but I think is definitely worth bringing back up, cab size conversions, which cab size conversions, or at least what I mean by that, is the ability to take any truck and change it between a single cab, a quad cab, a crew cab, or a 6-door setup. Now, I think obviously that would create some size restrictions within the game and especially create some RAM restrictions and some size, not necessarily restrictions on size, but maybe issues with vehicles taking up more space in the garage. But maybe they could give you a little bit of a disclaimer on screen like, hey, just so you know before you do this, this could maybe cause the game to lag a little bit more than a normal vehicle build or something like that. Just they could let you know a little bit ahead of time that, hey, maybe what you're doing could be a little bit more intensive on your system, but at least if you were to go big, like going from a quad cab to a 6-door or something like that. But I still think that cab size conversions would be a really nice addition to the game. Moving on to item 2, exhaust stack and tip placement and size adjustment. Now, this is something we've also talked about before, both in videos and live streams, but I think it's definitely worth bringing up again. And don't worry, there will be things that we haven't talked about yet coming up next after this point that I'm making. But as far as why I think the ability to adjust your exhaust stack or tip placement and size is important is really because I think that, not all of the exhaust stacks, for example, in the game are exactly offset the way you would want them to be. Some of the single stacks are all the way in the corner. Some of them are directly in the middle, and others are offset a little bit. And I think just the ability to give us a slider to where we can kind of slide that stack, from one side of the bed to the other, to where if you want it all the way in the side, in the corner, you can have that. If you want it all the way in the middle, you can have that. If you want it offset a little bit from the middle, you can have that too. And I think it would go a long way to just kind of deepening the customization ecosystem within the game. Point number 3 takes us into some new options that we haven't really talked about before, and that is more trailer customization options and just more trailers in general. Now, the ability to change the wheels and tires on your trailer would be sick, but I think even going further to being like, hey, I want to be able to turn, let's say, a flatbed into a half camper, half toy hauler, kind of hybrid adventure trailer thing. I know that that's not something that is requested all too often in the game, but I think it's really worth bringing up because I actually saw a trailer out on the highway the other day that literally was just a flatbed gooseneck at one point, and the owner ended up putting, a camper body on half of it and then using the rear half of the trailer to haul their rock crawler. And so they essentially took a, just standard normal flatbed gooseneck and made it a multi-purpose trailer by doing their own type of customization to it. And I think being able to do that in Offroad Outlaws would be amazing. Switching gears a little bit, or rather switching focus a little bit for point number 4, is I think another thing that I'd really like to see in Offroad Outlaws, and something I think would be a really nice upgrade to the game just for the community in general, would be the addition of female character models. Now, currently, the only character model we have is pretty general, you know what I mean? It's kind of just, it's cool that we have it, but it's pretty much just there, and it's there so that you can get out and walk around the truck and things like that, and you have an actual character that you can do that with. But I think deepening the character customization system a little bit more, especially down to the level where people could kind of select a character model on a more, personal level, would be, again, another really, really nice upgrade to the game, and it would make the game feel more personal, and it would allow people to customize their experience a whole lot more. Next up, we got point number 5, and this is one that we have talked about before on multiple occasions, and it is a multiplayer vote to kick system. Now, those of you that have watched my Offroad Outlaws live streams in the past will know that really anybody that plays Offroad Outlaws multiplayer, and particularly anybody that streams Offroad Outlaws multiplayer, has had issues with trolls and people that will kind of grief the lobbies, and it really doesn't allow the lobbies and sessions to run as smoothly as they could. And essentially what you run into is, let's say you put out a rule for your lobbies that let's say because the lobbies are small, you only want, people to join for one session per person so that other people have a chance to join. Well, what you end up running into, because you don't have a vote to kick system right now, is people that will jump back in anyway 2, 3, 4 times, blocking people that haven't joined yet from coming in, and you'll be like, hey, I really need you to make some space in the lobby so that new people can come in, and they'll be like, no, like, you can't make me leave, so I'm not going anywhere. And so that would be a really nice thing to be able to address, especially with a multiplayer vote to kick system. And even if you don't live stream the game, especially if someone is just like, if you're hanging out with your friends and someone ends up jumping into your lobby and just bumping into you constantly and, is constantly just clearly doing things for the sheer purpose of disrupting your fun, you want to be able to have a vote to kick system to kind of keep your lobby chill. Moving on to point number 6 that I would like to see in a future Offroad Outlaws update is the ability to load quads or dirt bikes into the bed of your pickup truck. Now, I don't know if the general pickup bed size in Offroad Outlaws is large enough to accommodate the quads and dirt bikes in the game. That would be something we'd have to look into a little bit more closely. But I think as far as, replicating real-world scenarios, that would be a really nice feature to have. I mean, like, some people don't have a trailer. They just have ramps to load their dirt bike or their quad into the back of their pickup truck, and then they head out for a weekend somewhere. Or maybe they just head out for an afternoon somewhere, like maybe at a friend's house that just so happens to have, like some dirt trails in their backyard or in the woods by their house or something. But I think that that would be a really nice way to add to the roleplay dynamics of the game, and it would give you just yet again another way to deepen the experience and have new experiences with your friends that really do a good job of mimicking real life, obviously apart from, certain aspects of the physics that are obviously more arcadey. But if you're playing Offroad Outlaws in a realistic way, you're kind of role-playing out the scenarios with the physics anyway. Like, what we're doing right now, sure, is like super gnarly and crazy and over the top and not realistic, but you can play the game realistically. You just have to kind of have the idea of how you want to do that in your head ahead of time, and then you're good to go. Next up is point number 7, and that is more side-by-sides. It's been so long since we've seen a new side-by-side get added to the game, and I think we are definitely due for one, and y'all can let me know your thoughts on that in the comments down below as well, for sure. But let me know if a new side-by-side would be a feature in the game that you would get excited about. Like, if the Offroad Outlaws developers were like, hey, we're gonna bring either new trucks or new side-by-sides, which one would you go for? Which one would you sort of, like, show your support for in that scenario if the devs were like, hey, pick this or this, you know what I mean? Now, in saying that out loud, I have a feeling that a lot of people would probably just say we want more trucks and not more side-by-sides, but if that's incorrect, let me know in my comments, because I'd be really curious on that one, because I do see people saying sometimes, like, hey, we need more side-by-sides. They haven't seen much love in a long time, but I also see other people kind of, bumping back against that and being like, hey, no, the devs don't need to be spending their time on side-by-sides. We need more trucks. So let me know on that and how you feel about that in the comments below for sure. Next up is point number 8, and it is switchable engine sounds. Switchable engine sounds are something that the community has asked for and wanted for a very long time, and I think it is totally worth adding, because some people, when they updated the engine sounds, some people loved them, some people hated them, and some people were kind of indifferent, like right in the middle. Now, whether or not you like the way the new engines sound, currently, that's your option. You know what I mean? Like, because there's one set of engine sounds, whether you like that engine sound or not, that's the way your truck's gonna sound. Like, deal with it. And that, I'm not saying that's bad, because I know that sound files generally do take up a lot of space, like, especially in a game like this with engines where, they have to have multiple kind of levels to the sound when the engine revs out and, then comes back down on the overrun and things like that. And I know that sound files are not small in that regard. However, the ability to just have maybe 2 or even 3 different sets of engine sounds to select, like for maybe, let's see, 2 or 3 different sounds for diesels and 2 or 3 different sounds for gas engines. Oh my god, I think you would make so many people so happy with that. And our 9th point is pretty much in that same vein as well, and that is switchable turbo sounds, because the turbo sounds in the game are all kind of from the same, or at least they sound like they're all kind of from that same turbo sound, like spool sound model, and the ability to switch those up and kind of change them around and customize them to suit your preference would be so sick. I mean, can you imagine the ability to adjust the volume of your turbo spool? That would be one of the sickest things ever. Now, I feel like some people would think like, oh, I don't think we should have that because everybody's just gonna max out the sound of their spool, but I really don't think that's gonna happen. I really think everybody would I mean, sure, some people would max it out, but I think others would, you know, probably have it in the middle, or have it low, or have it 3/4, or have it 1/4, and like everybody would have a little bit of a different preference on where they would like it. So that's why I wanted to separate that from the customizable engine sounds, like, because I think customizing your turbo sound would be, you know, yes, it's still in the same category, but it would kind of be its own thing, and I think people would kind of treat it a little bit separately, you know? And finally, we get to the 10th and final point, which is, drum roll please, let me know what you think they should add in the comments down below, because I know there's going to be things that we did not cover on this list, and I wanted to leave that 10th spot open to y'all to voice any and all opinions in the comments of things that you think Offroad Outlaws needs to add that we did not cover in this video. That 10th spot on the list is the community spot. It's for y'all, so absolutely go wild down there in the comments. Let me know what this game needs, because we as the community around this game are what drives this game forward. So with that being said though, y'all, thank you for watching. I will see y'all in the next one. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn those notifications on, and I will see y'all next time. I'm out, y'all.